cooked, and nothing was the same. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. What really happened? In this video, I'm going to break down what I saw in their fight, and let's get started. So, for starters, congratulations to Conor Benn, who defeated Chris Eubank Jr. to put some pride on the family name and avenge his first ever loss to Chris Eubank Jr., I believe back in April. In this breakdown, I'll give you guys the good, the bad, and the ugly. At the beginning, you've seen pretty much a photo slideshow of what took place. And spoiler alert, this wasn't a great fight. This wasn't better than the first fight. It was a one-sided Conor Benn dominant performance. So he did his thing, made his adjustments, but it was very dry, very flat from Chris Eubank Jr. So we'll get into that. So the good, I didn't really see too much good. This fight didn't really have, for me, a bunch of publicity. Like, they kind of hyped up the first fight, and it was like, oh, the names, and the first fight was so amazing. I didn't really see people like anticipating this fight. I know I personally wasn't, and now you see why. Because I understand the game of boxing, you can only keep going back to the well before you deplete it, right? And I feel like with Ring, Riyadh season, Turkey events, they're doing this a lot where they'll have a solid fight, right? Better be of Beevil. And then it's an immediate rematch. A rematch. I'm a person who believes that rematches don't need to occur unless they need to occur. Meaning, there's a time and a place where a rematch is warranted, and then there's times where you don't really need to do a rematch. This was one of those times. It reminds me of a movie I seen recently, Black Phone. Black Phone 1 was good. It was solid. I liked it, right? And the story was self-contained. So if you watch Black Phone, it kind of completed the story. This, because I'm not going to spoil the movie for you, but this happened. It had a start, middle, and a conclusion. Done. Didn't really need a sequel, but since it performed well and people liked it and it had a good character, the grabber, then, the studios do what they always do and be like, oh, since people liked it and it made money, let's abuse it and let's come out with a part 2. And I felt like the part 2 was lacking in a lot of ways because it was not needed. And you had to switch the whole character. Now the grabber he's a supernatural, fake, great value Freddy Krueger, and so on and so forth. That's what I felt with this Eubank Benn fight, where you had as good of a fight as you're going to get with that fight, right, based on the styles. And then you went back to it, and I really, truly felt there was no way that it was going to top the first fight. And that becomes kind of like the gray area. And I was 100% right. In no way, shape, form, or fashion was this a great fight. It wasn't. Now, you could say it was a good or great performance by Conor Benn. You could give him all the props, because people said he couldn't box. He boxed more. Round 1, the fight pretty much looked the same the whole way through, just to give you guys an idea. But I want to say in the early first 3 rounds especially, Ben came out aggressive. He landed some really good body shots. You can hear he was putting a lot a lot of mustard on his punches. And Chris Eubank wasn't really throwing too much. And for me, being an experienced boxing fan and analyst, I don't hit the panic button prematurely, meaning like some fights need to develop. You got a strategy. So rounds 1, 2, 3, I don't really trip unless you're just getting dog walked and it's like a super bad tone. But the way he was boxing, yeah, he wasn't throwing the volume, but it was still early enough in the fight where, okay, maybe this is part of the game plan. And then at some point, he's going to turn up, right? He's going to hit the gas button and accelerate. So I wasn't really tripping. Conor Benn easily won like the first 3 rounds. Wasn't really tripping too much. I'm like, yeah, slow pace, but maybe he just got with Bomac, Terrence Crawford's trainer, and maybe this is the game plan. But when we started getting to rounds 4, 5, definitely 6, because now in a 12-round fight, 6, you're halfway to the finish line. Now you need to start hitting the panic button because you're fighting at this lackadaisical pace, and he looks like he's trying to take your head off. You look almost tired in the first half of the fight, Chris Eubank primarily. There were moments where I don't know the exact round number, but Conor Benn was whipping him around, throwing him. So there was a couple times where Eubank had to pick himself up off the ground, and he just looked lethargic. He looked unenthused. He looked like almost like a guy that didn't really want to be there. And this is why I predicted this fight wasn't going to live up to the expectations. I knew it. So the bad and the ugly really kind of goes to the Eubank side. For one, you walked out with 50 Cent. 50 Cent, G-Unit, right? So you have this elaborate 50 Cent walkout, probably had to pay him, unless y'all great friends or something. Walk out with 50 Cent, he rapping or whatever, cool. Then it's the family name rivalry. You lost that, and you lost definitively. And all the talk, all the banter from both fights, cracking the egg on Conor Benn's head, all that's out the window. This was a bad performance. Also, you got Terrence Crawford's trainer, Bomac, involved, and then he's had a great year outside of this, with Crawford beating Canelo primarily. But then now this don't really help his stable to see you lose virtually every round. You know what I mean? So he picked you back up and y'all start working together. I didn't see he looked worse with Bomac than he did in the first fight with whoever was training him. So that's kind of the bad and the ugly for Chris Eubank. Age 36, about to have twins. Where does he really go from here? Just like Canelo, these musical chairs mismatch fights, when they end like this and they're one-sided, I feel like it becomes even more catastrophic to your career because you're losing to somebody who on paper is significantly smaller than you, which is always going to hurt. That's like Shaquille O'Neal getting beat up by a 6th grader. That's going to be worse than Yao Ming or somebody, LeBron James, somebody who has some size to him being able to beat you. That's how I look at it. I don't know about y'all, but that's how I look at it. So Canelo fighting a smaller Crawford, getting cooked. Chris Eubank fighting a smaller fighter, getting cooked. It does not bode well. And for me, it looks way worse because of you have Conor Benn, who literally looks smaller. He's shorter, and he looked like the brute. He fought like the bigger man. He looked like his punches hurt more and like he had more power. Then in the 12th round, don't get me started there. In the 12th round, Chris Eubank, he looked, like I said, like he was like elsewhere. Like, you ever been in school and in a class and you're like daydreaming, thinking about being at the beach or some girl you hooked up with, or you know what I mean, whatever the case is, right? That's what it looked like. It looked like Chris Eubank was kind of detached from the fight. Then he got caught lacking with a big shot, and he was like stumbly. Conor Benn, obviously being the fresher fighter, the younger fighter, picked up on it, jumped on him. He goes down, and then the whole remainder of round 12, the final round, Conor Benn was on him, pause, and he gets dropped again. So he got dropped twice in the 12th round, and it looked like he was near stoppage, like if he wasn't holding on for dear life. So that is not what that's what I'm saying. The bad and the ugly is not what you want to see from the bigger man. You don't want to see the bigger man pretty much get outboxed, good feinting, good early body attack. I think Conor Benn kind of slowed down in, the 7th, 8th, 9th round, somewhere around there. And he slowed down, but then he picked it back up. So he started real strong, ended real strong, and won everything in between. Boom. Unanimous decision win for Conor Benn, and then the bigger person didn't fight like a bigger person. I'm not making excuses. I don't do that, but I do believe what I believe. And another reason why I didn't want to see this fight like that is for the sheer fact that, in my opinion, Chris Eubank has no business trying to make 160 at age 36, right? So I do think the weight played a factor into this fight, but that's his fault. You sign up for a rematch. I would have made it at a catch weight. Like, give me 163, 164, something like that. And then you just beat him. So how you don't have no type of, like, what's the point of beating somebody if you don't have no dibs on, like, the deal points, right? So for me, if I was Chris Eubank Jr., given the fact that you had fought as high as 168 and you're getting older, I would have never even took this fight at 160, which is another reason why I knew it was going to be trash, and I was right, because you're sitting up here depleting yourself at an advanced age for boxing. Oscar De La Hoya retired at 37. Chris Eubank is 36. So at the end of the day, the weight definitely didn't benefit you, and it's perhaps at least a portion. I don't want to take away from Conor Benn, but at least a portion of why you look so sluggish, couldn't move, seemed uninspired throughout the fight, looked like you had nothing on your punches. He looked like shaking up soda that's left on the counter without no top. He looked flat the whole fight, and I definitely think being weight drained definitely does that. If you look at the science behind it, when you deplete yourself, when you dehydrate, you might look great in the gym, but then you hit that number on the scale, and then everything was spent in the gym and making the weight and the nutrition side, and you don't have nothing. So for me, I wasn't really impressed with the fight. It was a good performance by Conor Benn. He says the trilogy stops now. He's moving back down. Congratulations to him. He did his thing. Winners win, you know what I mean? So he lost the first fight, got hurt in the first fight, didn't get hurt in this fight. He made all the proper adjustments and, put respect on his family name. So I don't have nothing negative to say about him in this regard. As of my knowledge, he has passed all of his drug tests as well. So kudos to him. But as far as a card, it wasn't dope. As far as a main event, to me, it just wasn't a good fight. And I also, like I said earlier, I blame it when you try to abuse rematches. Like, the first fight didn't even need to happen, let alone a rematch to it. Especially, this is a big issue when you have a conflict in weight. Chris Eubank, he not a 160 pounder at this point, right? So how many times do you think a person can make these bold sacrifices on the scale, get older without it affecting you? If you know boxing, you know what I'm talking about, right? You could do that. Like, Jaron Boots Ennis is big for welterweight. He made it as long as he could, but he's in his 20s. Eubank is like 10 years older, roughly, than a guy like Jaron Boots Ennis. Your body's not going to be as forgiving in terms of making weight and all that. So to me, the fact that they were so far apart in weight, it benefited Conor Benn because he's younger, fresher. He was undefeated. So I feel like he's more spry and able to recover from a quick turnaround pretty much in a war. The first fight in April was a war, and him being younger and packing on weight, it served him well versus the older guy, Eubank Jr., being 36, going through that war. It ain't gonna hit the same. Like, I don't drink anymore, but I have drank before. And if you have a hangover when you are 20, 21, right? And you got a hangover, getting through that hangover is different than a person who got a hangover and they 60 years old. You know what I mean? Like, age matters. Like, when I would go out, there have been times we hit the club and I would get home super late and I would literally only get to sleep for like 30 minutes and then have to go to work and work a full 8 hours. I can't do that now. You know what I mean? I can't do that to my sleep now. So as you age, your body's not going to be as forgiving with certain things. Even eating, like when you're 20, you might be able to eat crazy and not gain no weight. You get a bit older, your metabolism slows down, natural productions slow down, oxidation, right? You eat all that food, it might stick with you. You might develop more fat. It's just part of the aging process. So the bad and the ugly for Eubank is the performance, and he really should have never did this fight without favorable terms on the weight, because this is what happens a lot of times. Like I said, you brought 50 Cent along, you brought Bomac along, and then you end up getting cooked. Not a good look. Not a good look. And then it's like, where do you go? And if I'm not mistaken, they were saying on the telecast that Eubank was in the running for a Canelo fight. It's another reason why you don't do that. Because you can fight Ben in a rematch. You already beat him. Not have a catch weight and drain yourself. Or, and I'm not saying he beats Canelo, but at least you probably would have made more money fighting Canelo. But now you got beat by the smaller person. And just like I said, with Canelo losing to Crawford, that is always going to be worse than losing to someone your size or someone bigger than you. That's my breakdown and what really happened. For more boxing news, subscribe. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new. But even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate, so ultimately you can realize all of your online goals. Use my affiliate link in the description and grow your channel fast.